Today we're going to talk about how to roll over logs. A lot of times on trails, especially on Long Island, it seems like every time we have a storm and trees fall down, a bunch of these log piles show up in a bunch of trails. And they're a fun obstacle, but if you don't know how to do them properly, they can really slow you down and kind of interrupt your flow on the trail. So we're going to get into how to do them properly and effectively. So before we even get started with the tutorial, I want to talk about what is a log rollover. It's usually characterized by a group of logs stacked close to each other, and usually the middle log is going to be the tallest and creates a kind of peak. So we're going to look at some techniques that I use, at least, to hopefully get over them pretty smoothly. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about when you're attempting to ride over a group of logs like this is that you want your saddle out of the way if you can. If you do have a dropper post, I would suggest putting the seat down for going over the logs because it'll allow you to move freely over the bike. The first thing that I want to think about is however high the highest part of the log rollover is, that's how high I want to bring my front wheel. So I want to pull back with my arms and with my hips, I guess, and place the wheel as close as I can to the arch or the peak of the group of logs. This kind of takes my front wheel out of the equation completely, as it is already at the peak and does not have to slow down and abruptly hit the front of the log here. So basically I want to take my wheels out of the equation as much as I can because they're the ones that are going to take the brunt force of hitting the logs. Once you get over the arch and your back tire is about to meet the log, this is where you want to shift your weight forward, primarily through your hips, and kind of scoop your feet into the pedals to help unweight the rear end. Unless you're able to literally bunny hop the whole thing, you want to take as much pressure off of the back tire when it meets these logs. You want to minimize the force down on the ground that you have when you meet the logs so that the tires don't have to conform so much and waste a lot of energy when it meets the logs. And you don't want to thrust yourself forward and just like kind of stretch out and put all your weight on the front end, because then you could possibly go over the bars, and especially depending on how steep the other side is, that's something to consider. So it's really a case-by-case situation depending on how big the log rollover feature is, but you kind of get a feel for it, and especially with the geometry and like length of your bike and whatnot, you'll kind of figure it out. Now once you've gotten your hips forward and the back tire is starting to come over the hump of the logs, you want to put your weight forward a little bit so that you can weight the front wheel and push it down and extend your arms to meet the ground as soon as possible. You don't want to like lollipop over and kind of make your front wheel drop, because that'll really unsettle the bike as you're coming over. Let's give a demonstration. I put my front wheel on the highest part of the logs, then I scoop with my feet, and then you can see my arms bent and now they're straight. I also want to emphasize how speed and carrying your momentum over this is an important part, but too much speed is going to be bad and can unsettle the bike a lot, but too little speed can be equally bad and it'll just slow you down immediately. I'm going to show you what would happen if I met the edge of this log head on at a slow speed. Once my back tire hits, I come to a halt and almost lose my balance. Now here are some better examples. Alright, so that's about it for this video. You know, I'm not a professional rider or anything, and I'm not going to pretend that I am, so if you think my advice is garbage, then be sure to tell me in the comments. But if you did find it helpful, maybe drop it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. And remember, stay venturing, my friends.